Imagine a technology that is used by 99% of a population, a system so efficient that it processes transactions faster than the blink of an eye, beating Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and credit cards by a significant margin. You might think I'm talking about the latest Silicon Valley breakthrough. I'm not. I'm talking about a piece of plastic launched in 1997, now currently operating at over 180,000 points in Hong Kong. This is the Octopus. For 20 years, it served as the master key to the city, a single object connecting transit, retail, and security. To really understand how revolutionary this was, we have to look at the timeline. In 1997, the rest of the world was still largely running on paper tickets and magnetic strips. Singapore's Easy Link did not arrive until 2002. London did not launch the Oyster card until 2003. Hong Kong wasn't just early, they were operating half a decade ahead of the rest of the world. Before the arrival of Octopus, public transport operators in Hong Kong faced a massive logistical nightmare: physical cash. Kowloon Motor Bus, or KMB, reported handling 22 tons of coins every single day. The cost of processing this, collecting, counting, and secure transport ate up an estimated 2 to 3% of their total revenue. Simultaneously, the existing magnetic ticket system was failing. The common store value ticket used magnetic strip technology, which required physical insertion into gates, taking between 2 and 5 seconds per transaction. This speed was simply insufficient for the MTR's growing passenger volume, leading to frequent turnstile jams. In response to these challenges, a consortium was formed in 1994. 5 major transport operators, the MTR Corporation, which held the majority, along with KMB, Kowloon Canton Railway, Citybus, and the Hong Kong and Yau Ma Tei Ferry, put aside their rivalry to form a joint venture. Originally named Creative Star Limited, it was later renamed Octopus Cards Limited. Their goal was to build a unified card system. The MTR laid down a non-negotiable requirement for this new system. Transactions had to process in under 0.3 seconds to prevent passenger pile-ups during rush hour. The launch was successful. By November 1997, just 2 months post-launch, 2.3 million cards has been sold. By that same month, the system was already processing 2 million transactions per day. Within the first 3 months, 3 million cards were issued, covering nearly half of Hong Kong's population at that time. So, how does it work? Unlike a modern credit card transaction which is online, verifying with a bank server in real time, Octopus is an offline system. It operates at the edge. As the card enters the magnetic field of the reader or the turnstile, the reader's antenna wakes up its chip inside. The reader reads the card's internal balance. If the balance is greater than $0 and the remaining value is less than the fare, the reader subtracts the fare and writes a new balance directly onto the card's memory block. This happens locally, meaning the card now knows that it has less money. The data of the transaction, including the time, fare, and Octopus ID, are stored locally in the turnstile's internal memory collector, without the need to connect to internet. A single MTR station controller can buffer thousands of transactions if the network goes down, ensuring the gates never stop working. Then, via batching at the end of the day, the station controller uploads these batch files to the central servers via a dedicated network. The same method is used in retail. The strength of Octopus lies in this offline capability. There is zero network latency. This guarantees the processing time of under 0.3 seconds required for high-volume crowds. Comparing this to modern tech, even in fast transit mode, the cryptographic handshake of Apple Pay, which generates unique codes for every transaction, is computationally heavier than the simple balance update of Octopus, making it slightly slower at approximately 0.5 seconds. Following transport, the system expanded into retail. In April 2000, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority granted Octopus a deposit-taking company license. This allowed them to hold user funds legally beyond transportation. In the same year, 7-Eleven and Circle K became the first major retail partners. The synergy was obvious, as convenience stores handle high volumes of small cash transactions for items like newspapers, gum, and drinks. A year later, chains like McDonald's and Café de Coral joined next. They benefited from throughput, allowing them to serve more customers per hour during the critical lunch rush. The expansion continued into access control, using Octopus chips as identification for apartment and facility access. The socio-economic impact of this system was profound. For transport companies, the switch to digital effectively eliminated the operational tax of handling 20 tons of coins daily. Since managing costs 2 to 3% of the total revenue, the cost of maintaining the Octopus system was significantly lower than the cost of physical logistics. It allowed MTR to increase station capacity during rush hour without widening physical concourses. A slower system, like credit card processing at roughly 1.5 seconds, would have required 3 times more gates to handle the same crowd. In the retail sector, however, the impact was split. Large retailers benefited from volume speed, processing customers 20 to 30% faster than cash. However, for small retailers and individuals, there was a monopoly tax. For years, Octopus charged merchants a standard transaction fee of roughly 1.5%. Unlike big chains, taxi drivers operate on thin margins and prefer cash for immediate liquidity. Tax evasion also played a role. Drivers preferred cash to underreport income, whereas Octopus and other digital payments leave a digital trail. Because Octopus failed to capture taxis when they had the monopoly, the market remained cash-only until recent years. The government treated Octopus as a convenient public utility despite it being a privately commercial entity. Eventually, it became a policy implementation tool. The government uses the Octopus network to distribute the public transport fare subsidy. It tracks user spending and digitally rebates money, a process that would be administratively impossible with cash. Octopus also serves as a stimulus tool. When the Hong Kong government released $5,000 consumption vouchers via Octopus, spending was effectively restricted to Hong Kong due to the system's inherent regional nature. Furthermore, the ubiquity of Octopus for micropayments drastically reduced the Hong Kong monetary authorities' need to mint low-denomination coins, such as the 10-cent, 20-cent, and 50-cent pieces, saving public funds on currency production. For the citizens, the strength is that Octopus requires no credit check or bank account. With 99% penetration among these aged 15 to 64, it allows the unbanked, including children, the elderly, and domestic helpers, to participate fully in the digital economy. Regarding technology, cities like London and Tokyo adopted systems similar to Hong Kong's, but with critical differences in execution. London's Oyster Card lacked the financial licenses that allowed Octopus to conquer the retail sector, effectively limiting Oyster to a transport card. Japan, meanwhile, struggled with fragmentation. Because the market was split among different operators, Suica for JR East, Pasmo for the Metro, and ICOCA for West JR, these systems did not fully integrate until 2013. However, with its success also rose its limitations. Specifically, the success contributed to the Galapagos effect. Because Octopus worked too well with its 0.3-second offline speed, Hong Kong users felt no pain point switching to newer technologies. This delayed the adoption of mobile payment like Apple Pay and QR codes in Hong Kong by nearly a decade compared to nearby regions like mainland China. Users remained locked into a physical card system because the monopoly was so efficient. Additionally, Hong Kong built its system in 1997 using heavy infrastructure. Because they spent billions on this hardware, they have a financial incentive not to change this. While Hong Kong spent 20 years perfecting the card-based smart city, mainland China had the late mover advantage. By the early 2010s, China lacked widespread credit card infrastructure, meaning they had nothing to replace. This resulted in the development of super apps and QR payments. However, are super apps and QR payments necessarily better? To analyze this, we must separate into two main points: efficiency and penetration. Regarding efficiency, for a smart city, the most critical metric is how fast you can move a crowd. Here, the old technology of NFC actually beats the new QR technology. With Octopus, you tap your wallet on the gate and it takes 0.3 seconds. The user does not need to look at a screen or unlock a device. With Alipay, you must unlock the phone, open the app, generate the code, and align it with a scanner. This takes around 3 seconds. A QR-based system reduces gate capacity by roughly 30 to 40% compared to NFC. Regarding penetration, however, the story changes. In Hong Kong, efficiency relies on specialized hardware. To accept Octopus, a merchant or turnstile requires a Sony Felicia reader, costing around $200 plus wiring. This result is a high barrier to entry. This is why you can use Octopus at 7-Eleven, who can afford the reader, but rarely at a wet market stall, who cannot. In China, to accept Alipay or WeChat Pay, a merchant only needs a printed piece of paper with a QR code, costing $0. The result is zero barrier to entry. This allowed the system to penetrate the informal economy, including beggars, street performers, and rural vegetable farmers in a way that Octopus would never. Behind the Octopus and QR payments lie two completely different fundamental urban plannings and governing ideologies. Octopus connects physical silos, trains, office, and shop, but remains a passive tool with the primary goal of increasing efficiency, while the digital smart apps like WeChat or Alipay were designed with a more ambitious plan of governing in mind. This level of consolidation was possible because the social and political environment prioritized rapid digitalization and economic integration over market fragmentation. This approach thus allowed China to execute complex governance instantly. For example, health codes during COVID, where your subway entry permission was linked to your medical status. This model is nearly impossible to replicate in the United States, Europe, or even Hong Kong, as in these regions, privacy is viewed as a fundamental right, and authority is constantly challenged by both the courts and the public. A system like WeChat, where one app handles all your chats, your banking, your travel, and your government ID, would immediately face lawsuits and public outrage. Western markets are fragmented by design to prevent this kind of data monopoly. But the more important thing is, who is the city smart for? Hong Kong's Octopus Card proved that specialized hardware, or NFC, is superior for high-density transport and moving millions of people quickly. Its simplicity also makes it inclusive enough that an 80-year-old can use it without confusion. On the other hand, the super app revolution proved that the software is a superior tool for economic growth and social governance. The modern perfect smart city shouldn't be making a decision between the two, rather merging both. Ultimately, from an urban design perspective, the Octopus Card is not just a payment tool, it's a masterclass in managing density. Hong Kong recognized earlier than anyone else that in a city of 7 million people, the most crucial resource is flow. By standardizing one system across transport, retail, and security, they effectively dissolved the barriers between different parts of daily life. The genius of this system is that it created invisible infrastructure. It turned a complex financial transaction into a simple reflex, a physical interaction that takes less time than a heartbeat.